Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, this is the third and the last part of our discussion regarding variation index responsiveness. Now, in the previous parts, we have been discussing the decreased responsiveness or decreased response of the drugs. Now, in this part, we will see what are the various types of increased responsive or increased responsiveness of the tissue. Now, remember, when physiologically active state of the system are deprived of from activation for prolonged time due to either denervation, nerve have been cut off, so no impulse will be passing through nerve, and obviously receptors are deprived of the any neurotransmitter. So for prolonged period, no activation of receptors is occurring. Or this activation have been blocked by some antagonist given from outside, or a drug which reduces the input, all may lead to actually increased tissue responsiveness or receptor sensitivity, and ultimately increased responses of the drug or the ligand even. So this happens usually due to upregulation of the receptor, increased number of a receptor. Anyhow, let's see mechanism of increased responsiveness. First of all, unmasking of whatever the receptor have been masked, जो डाउन रेगुलेशन हो गई थी, now again those receptors have been unmasked. They have been brought to the surface to perform their effect. And second, as I have told you, increased numbers of receptors are upregulation of receptor. Whatever the mechanism we have been discussing in regulation of receptor, now you can well understand how the upregulation of receptor will occur. And third, the signal amplification by the transmitters have been accentuation. That increased activity of the transmitters have been seen. Now, increased responsiveness first may be supersensitivity. And we have been discussing previously also. Remember, supersensitivity is the increased responsiveness with the usual doses. We have not increased the dose, or neither the endogenous substance have been increased release. No, normal physiological. But even then, due to upregulation of certain number of receptor sites available for binding has been increased. As we have seen, this happen after prolonged block. Then we will see increased response, supersensitivity. आप कंप्लीट ब्लॉक कर दें लंबे अरसे के लिए, जो ही आप विड्रॉ करते हैं, you will observe increased response because number of receptors have increased. Now this is the example of beta blocker. Remember, prolonged use of beta blocker, for example, for severe hypertension. So if there is sudden withdrawal, maybe due to any reason, some very much interesting function going on in the home, and so many other reasons, a few doses have been missed of beta blocker. Now the receptor have been deprived of their beta blocker. That is free. Free for what? For the neurotransmitter for which beta blocker were blocking the receptor. Now those receptors are now available, not only available, but in increased number is available. So now the effect of the neurotransmitter will be much, much higher than expected. Excessive cardiac activity will be there. Blood pressure will increase too much due to excessive increase in cardiac activity. If patient was on compromised state, maybe suffering from ischemic heart problem, like that. Another important example is of antipsychotic. That will be explained inshallah when we'll discuss antipsychotic drugs. A typical problem, tardive dyskinesia. Tardive means occur after prolonged time, and dyskinesia, abnormal movement of the body parts, especially of the cheeks and lips. So anyhow, that will be discussed inshallah later on. But please Remember at least one example of beta blocker. Okay, after sudden withdrawal, there will be sudden increased activity of the beta receptor. Hypersensitivity. We have been discussing previously, although in the initial concept building. Now you must be able to differentiate between these two terminologies, supersensitivity and hypersensitivity. Supersensitivity was increased responsiveness of the tissue to the drug, while hypersensitivity is actually the immunological or allergic reaction of a drug. Now these allergies may be just very mild, skin rashes, etc., even up to maximum severe lethal anaphylaxis or anaphylactic shock. These hypersensitivity reactions are commonly seen with few of the drugs which are known to be produced by a hypersensitivity reaction, like penicillin, anti-tetanus serum, radiocontrast intravascular injections. All can lead to produce these allergic reactions or hypersensitivity. So please make the difference between supersensitivity and hypersensitivity. 4 types of hypersensitivity reactions: type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Type 1 is actually the severest one, anaphylactic shock. These actually they happen immediately. So immediate onset of action. For example, in hay fever, anaphylaxis due to these previous penicillin or tetanus serum, etc. Or simple eczema or food allergic are also, as with peanuts. So actually there is degranulation of the mast cells that lead to release of large amounts of inflammatory like histamine, etc. So such a large amount of histamine is released that can involve large area of the body to produce such sort of immediate reaction, including acute anaphylactic shock. Second type is cytotoxic. Here cells are being damaged. When cells have been exposed to the foreign antigen, obviously antibodies are already there. So if previous reaction has produced antibodies already, so binding of antibodies to the cell will lead to produce some sort of damage. So cell expressing foreign antigen is now a target for the phagocytes. These may also occur immediately, but time taken by the first type 1, it will be more than that one. Type 1 may occur within 5 minutes maximum, while this may take some more time, half an hour or 1 hour or slightly more. Here actually usually reason autoimmunity, rheumatoid arthritis, immunity disease of the newborn and transfusion reaction. They are due to cytotoxic type 2 reaction. Third one is immune complex mediated allergic reaction. Now, these are slightly more time consuming reaction. Onset is 4 to 8 hours. For example, glomerulonephritis occurs or penicillin allergic reaction occur. But remember, penicillin allergic reaction can produce all types of reaction. Type 1 even and type 2, type 3. But common is type 1 and type 3. Anyhow, here actually when we are giving some antigen from outside, antibody will be produced and then there will be formation of immune complex. This complex actually bind to the tissues. So deposition of excess of immune complex in kidney or joints or skin can lead to produce such type of immune complex mediated allergic reaction. Then the delayed type 4 last. It may take 24 to 48 hours, from 1 day to 2 days to show their effects. Especially graft rejection, for example, after renal transplant or skin graft, etc. These reactions are, delayed types of reactions are being observed. Or contact dermatitis, something chemical have been in touch with the skin for prolonged time. People are wearing some these rings, finger rings, or some bangles, etc., some but of metal, other things, which may produce contact dermatitis, like nickel allergy. Nickel can produce allergic reaction. Next important variation in responsiveness may be seen in the form of idiosyncrasy. Idio, abnormal. So actually this is the main thing, is the abnormal response. Absolutely unexpected, can't predict it, unpredictable. We can't say when it can happen. Abnormal means normal responses are those responses which we see with all the drugs in all patients. Abnormal are rarely it can be seen with any drug in few of the patients only. So usually it can happen with any dose, with the very first dose or with the second or third, or even when we are going to finish the therapy, last dose can induce and produce such reaction, idiosyncratic reaction. Actually, behind this mechanism is usually some genetic differences in those particular patients have been observed. It may be even genetic difference in the metabolism of the patient. It varies from person to person. But actually, it is genetic difference with the immunological aspects or responsiveness of the tissue. And most important one is aplastic anemia produced by the chloramphenicol. So any dose of chloramphenicol can produce bone marrow depression, especially in the form of aplastic. Aplastic means aplasia, no cell growth at all. So aplastic anemia occurs. But here, remember, this is a Viva question also. Okay. The same chloramphenicol can also produce these bone marrow depression or aplastic anemia due to toxicity. So aplastic anemia due to chloramphenicol can be seen, one, due to idiosyncratic reaction in any patient, may be rare, and 1 in thousands we can see, but with toxic dose in every patient having toxic level of chloramphenicol, aplastic anemia will be seen. Another important thing is, remember, these idiosyncratic reactions are not reversible. So aplastic anemia produced by chloramphenicol due to idiosyncrasy is not reversible. Whatever the damage, whatever the bone marrow depression has occurred due to idiosyncrasy, that damage is now permanent. While in case of toxicity, those are reversible. When the toxic levels are reduced due to withdrawal of the drugs, the anemia will also be reversed. Anyhow, next example is hemolytic anemia due to glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency like drugs, primaquine or sulfonamides. Now, iatrogenic effects. So again, don't confuse with the idiosyncrasy and iatrogenic. Okay? And the iatrogenic actually, it is the harmful effect of the drug which is being used in a particular patient for a particular problem. But due to the potential adverse effects of that drug, these iatrogenic effects are produced. Let's explain in some example. Cushing disease or Cushing syndrome. Obviously, we know from your knowledge of physiology, it is after prolonged use of steroids. Obviously, it will occur in all the patients who are taking steroids for chronic diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, etc. because these such problems are chronic and they need chronic use of the drugs. So if steroids are used for longer period, for months, etc., in such patient, this Cushing disease can be seen. So in such cases, Cushing disease is the iatrogenic effect. Now superinfection. So as the name is indicating, actually it is the infection of some opportunistic microorganism who were waiting for some opportunity, and especially some resistant strain, methicillin, etc., or Clostridium difficile and Candida albicans. All these names we will come across when you will be discussing in microbiology with the pathology department. So anyhow, if we are using such drugs, there is superinfection. Now how it is happening? What happened actually? We know there is a normal bacterial flora present in the large intestine of GIT or even respiratory tract or genitourinary tract. This normal bacterial flora is bacterial flora. Here also bacteria are present, but they are not producing any infection, but they are having some probiotic effect. They are producing some specific enzyme, vitamin K and so many other things which are beneficial or they are healthy for the person. When we are using some antibiotic like tetracycline and chlorphenicol, they can inhibit the variety of microorganisms, including normal bacterial flora, because for them these are bacteria, so they will emit these bacteria also. But as we have discussed, these were the normal and healthy bacteria. So what happened? Because they were protecting the person from any infection opportunistic. So when they are destroyed, the opportunistic microorganism, they get the chance to show their infection, and that will be known as superinfection. Usually Clostridium difficile producing inflammation of the colon, and ultimately which is manifested as a sort of membrane is formed on the outer wall of the colon, what we call as pseudomembranous colitis. Again, the name is indicating what is happening. Pseudo means it's not actual or true membrane. So pseudomembranous colitis, inflammation of colon. Okay. Now addiction. Remember, addiction is a psychological dependence. Here it is psychological dependence what we call as addiction. When psychological aspect is there, there is compulsive drug using behavior in the person who are using these drugs for personal satisfaction, and in spite of there no risk for health, but even then they are using. Even up at a particular time, daily call for tea, for example, tea at 10 or 11 o'clock early in the morning, in office or in any other. If you are not getting at that time the tea, psychologically you are seeking for tea also. So compulsive drug using behavior becomes there. Similarly for the drugs also. Now usually it is characterized by a high motivation to obtain the drug, and then obviously to use the drug, although the person is aware of its negative consequences. This is a common observation. All the drug addicts, they are aware of the possible adverse effects of all these drugs, but even then they are using. Why they are compelled? There is increased compulsiveness from inside, and there is high motivation to obtain that drugs. So that strong urge to get these drugs will lead to produce addiction. And as I told you, this is the psychological dependence. Now it's the physical. Okay, it's a psychological dependence, what we call as addiction. While physical dependence itself is known as dependence, because here actually this physical dependence is shown and is obvious on the body of the person. There are some characteristic signs and symptoms produced due to non-availability of the drug. Usually these symptoms are opposite to those for which the particular drug were being used. So when it is withdrawn from chronic use or when the dose is abruptly lowered, physical dependence symptom starts. Okay, so that will show dependence or physical dependence. Here withdrawal symptoms, we commonly labelize them as abstinence syndrome. So actually, these are the signs and symptoms that occur on withdrawal of a drug in a dependent patient. So if you call it withdrawal symptom or abstinence syndrome, it's the same. And lastly, the reinforcement. Now, actually, this is a state where some such effects are produced which force the drug user to take them again and again, again and again. It's just like one of the mechanism of addiction or psychological dependence. Okay, actually, those are particular effects which compel the person. The more strongly reinforcement of a drug is, the greater the likelihood that the drug will be abused. So जितनी reinforcement किसी drug की ज़्यादा है, उतनी ज़्यादा वो abuse होगी. Now, reinforcement properties of drugs are usually associated with their capacity to increase neuronal activity in the brain and reward area especially. अब इसको explain करते हैं further. Now, euphoria is actually the common effect, reinforcement effect, which can compel the person to continue the use of that drug which is responsible for the production of euphoria. Now, what is euphoria actually? It is the feeling of well-being. And the reason of euphoria is actually increased dopamine level in those areas which are responsible for the production of euphoria, like ventral striatum, especially nucleus accumbens region in the brain. And this euphoria is very commonly seen with such drugs like cocaine, amphetamines, ethanol, opioids, cannabinoids, and nicotine. But along with dopamine, there are some other chemicals also which have additional role to produce euphoria, like serotonin, glutamate, norepinephrine, endogenously released opioids like endorphins and GABA, etc. So all are actually mediating the reinforcement effects of the drugs like euphoria. The abuse liability of a drug is enhanced by rapidity of onset. So the inhalation of a crack cocaine is much more addictive than chewing or drinking or sniffing cocaine. So preparation of the forms of these drugs obviously may be able to give this euphoria of different rapidity and different intensity. So anyhow, thank you very much. So these were some important variation in the drug responsiveness. Allah Hafiz.